welcome to or welcome back to Unpacking Potato, the podcast where I, Henny, the self-proclaimed potato, unpack a variety of different topics. Welcome back to another video episode. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you go to YouTube and check it out if you are curious what it looks like. I am very excited to do another one. As you can tell, my background is a lot cleaner. It is not as chaotic. I finished organizing it like a couple days ago. I'm happy you're back. See, I told you you'll be able to see the improvement. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out the last video episode and you can see the disaster in the background. Anyway, for today's episode, I wanted to build a little bit off of the last episode talking about untying self-worth from external factors. And as you can tell by the title, I'll just be extrapolating on that a little bit further with regards to specifically relationships. So let's just jump right into it. So as you can tell by the title of this episode, the thing I want to talk about and the realization that I had is that my partner's emotions are not my responsibility and mine isn't theirs either. So basically what I mean by that is, of course, I want to be helpful to my partner in their emotions. I want to make them feel good. I want to be a source of happiness, a source of safety, and all those good things. However, the realization that I had to have and the separation that I needed to make was that their whole entirety of their well-being and emotions is not just my responsibility, and vice versa is true. This was actually really hard for me when I had this realization. Like I mentioned in my last episode, a lot of my self-worth and my identity came from helping people. And when your identity solely comes from helping people and solely comes from the fact that you can play that role, it takes a toll on you because anytime anything is wrong, you want to go into fix-it mode. You want to go into I can handle that mode. I can do that. I can do this and be everything for everyone always. And when I couldn't be those things, I felt worthless. I felt like I don't deserve love or happiness or to be in this relationship or anything like that. And I want to talk specifically about relationships, romantic relationships, but I think this can apply especially when talking about people who have the tendencies to be like this. This can apply to work, friendships, relationships with family, all those types of things. When you are always the person that feels like you have to fix everything and you tie your whole self-worth to that, that's the difference. You can be someone who is the fixer. That's just a person, that is a characteristic that some people have, that you're very quick on your feet and you're good under stress and pressure and adversity, and you can be problem-solving mode right away. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I wanted to be more cognizant about is when my whole self-worth is attached to that. Because when your whole self-worth is attached to that, it can bring up a lot of problems, not only for yourself, but for your relationships and the people around you. And that is what I was finding for myself. And in the last couple years, I've been actively working on untying that from my self-worth and my identity and how I perceive myself. However, while still trying to be that for people. So it's like a very weird balancing act, because it's not like you're just trying to take one thing away from you. I think some people do go that route where they just, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to be that person anymore. They get really like jaded and then they just don't want to help people and they get burnt out. And I know that because I was like that for a little bit. When I got really burnt out at my previous job, I was like, I'm done. Can't do this anymore. Don't want to be in helping professions. Can't do this. But I was burnt out, obviously. I didn't want to do anything. It wasn't even just that. I didn't want to live life. Oh God, I laugh. I shouldn't be laughing. It was a really difficult time in my life, but you cope in your own ways. But I'm much better now after I've had these realizations and after I've done the work to untie my self-worth and self-esteem and all those types of good things away from that, and just think of it as a characteristic that I add on, not my whole sole purpose. So the dangers of making your self-worth fully on that aspect is you do take on the responsibility of your partner's emotion. So going back to the romantic side of things, you think, oh, they did something wrong or they're upset about something, I need to fix it. And this can be used against you pretty easily if you get into this kind of pattern. If you're upset about something, like for example, in a previous relationship, long time ago, when I would get upset over something, my ex would be like, well, this makes me mad, and he would find something else that would make him mad or really upset over the fact that I was mad and I was sad, and then somehow make it about him. So I went into fix it mode. And don't get me wrong, you are allowed to have your own emotions on a subject. If me being upset upsets you, that's okay. But if you are actively trying to pull focus away from the situation going on to try to flip the script so that you are no longer in the wrong, that is manipulation, and that's not good. So I fell into that trap quite a few times, and it wasn't until much later in life I realized that's what I was doing. And I don't think it was like an intentional thing. I don't think that he was trying to do that. I really do try to see everything from my past with more of a compassionate lens, even though it caused me a lot of hurt. Because at the end of the day, I learned a lot from it, and it got me to where I am today. And I am very, very happy today with who I am and who I am with, and my ability to set boundaries and my capacity for love. So I do have an easier time showing more compassion to those actions and those behaviors. But I will say it took some time to get here, and it took a lot of effort and a lot of work. So anyway, I think what he was trying to do was just defend himself because he felt like he was in the wrong and he didn't know what to do. He didn't have the ability or the capacity to take accountability and to fix things. Like, he didn't know how to fix it. So because of that, he panicked and he just got me to fix it by getting mad, because he knew that if he got mad, I would try to fix it. So yeah, that was kind of the perpetual cycle that would happen. Like I said, this isn't just in romantic relationships. This can happen in friendships. This can happen in mentorship types of relationships, career, job, boss, what have you. It can be all sorts of different things. But for me specifically, understanding and realizing that my partner's emotions, and then that extending to the people's emotions around me, is not my full responsibility, it freed me a lot. But it takes active effort to practice that and to realize that and understand that and put it into actual action. So what that looks like is, rather than needing to fix everything, you're just there. You support and you provide the support that they require. And in romantic relationships, I do think that I often go into fix-it mode, and my partner now has to remind me, I'm not asking for a fix. I'm not asking you to fix it right now. Like, it's okay. I'm just venting or something like that. And I'll have to be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. And like, just listen. He's been a huge part of a lot of this. He definitely helps me feel less like I have to be a certain way or do certain things or anything like that. I can just be me, and me just existing and being here is enough for him. And that is so new to me. I am so used to being in dynamics where I have to give and give and give, but I do realize now in hindsight that I was putting that pressure on myself, and then the person receiving that kind of just got used to it, and then sometimes would take it for granted and wouldn't feel like other situations. And with a different ex, maybe they wouldn't feel like they could give enough back, and then they felt bad and they felt unworthy themselves or something. Like, there's always all these dynamics at play, and no one is perfect. No one's going to get anything right the first time around. And I think that's why it's important to self-reflect in order to grow and to accept and understand where you're coming from. Even if it's cringy, even if it's hard to think about, even if it is difficult to admit, it's important to go through that process, because you come out the other side a more well-rounded person with a deeper understanding of who you are. And I think that's kind of why I do all of this work, is I want to know who I am, and I want to be the best person I can be for myself, so that I in turn reflect that onto how I am to other people. So that's a little bit of a tangent. But anyway, this realization helped me feel more free, because I no longer had to be on alert all the time. I could be more present. I can be more sincere in my empathy, because I was sincere in my empathy before, but I think I was so hyper fixated on the fact that I had to fix something or that it was my fault. I subconsciously made it about me. Not always expressing that outwardly, but in my head. Like, in the past, if I was in a disagreement with a partner, I would just think of like, what did I do wrong? What can I do? What me, instead of being there and understanding what is he thinking and what is he experiencing? How is he perceiving this? And what can I do to meet him where he's at? Those are the kinds of things that I think about now. And in the past, I was so preoccupied with what did I do wrong? How do I fix this? That I wasn't able to fully be there and be present for my partner in the way that I would have liked to. There's a lot of places where these types of beliefs can stem from, and it's different for everybody. It's different for everyone's experiences. But I think a general thing for me that it was unstable environments. And that has absolutely nothing that is like at fault. Like there's no one's fault in this. But even growing up, I was moving all the time. I was having to make new friends all the time. And so it was hard for me to build that real true trust and foundation of a relationship within friendships to even start, because I would cultivate a friendship with somebody, start to build trust with them, and then I would move. And that happened quite a lot. And because of that, I had to learn how to adapt. And I think one of the ways I dealt with that was by trying to just be nice to everyone. And I wasn't really sure how to like fully connect and trust people because people would not be nice. And I think that's like not specific to me. I think a lot of people have gone through stuff like that where they thought someone was their friend and turns out they weren't, or someone was being nice to them, but turns out it's for a joke, or, those types of experiences when you're growing up, they can, follow you around. And I think that usually when you're in a stable environment for a long time, those relationships heal, or there's opportunity for change or opportunity for growth. So I think maybe for me, some of it stemmed from that, just immigrating and not knowing a language or whatever. Like whatever the situation can be for you, there are different factors that come into play, and absolutely no one is at fault specifically. This is just growing up. This is just life. This is why everyone has different beliefs and different values and different lenses, how they view the world, because of the experiences that we go through. So I think for a blanket statement could be an unstable environment, and then that could lead to unstable relationships. And if you find yourself in a relationship where the emotions of your partner are very rocky and hostile and aggressive, and those types of things can really concrete those values and those beliefs harder of like, I need to make sure that I'm perfect. I need to make sure that I'm fixing everything and I'm the source of happiness and I'm the source of calm and peace, or else it's going to be not peaceful. So you kind of like switch into that mode of fix it mode, and I have to do this and I have to be like this, and then that translates to you ignoring your own needs, or you feeling like your emotions are their responsibility too. So that was like a big thing that I think I had to come to realization with, is their emotions are not my responsibility, but same for the other. If I'm upset about something, I have the power to reflect on where those emotions are coming from, feel and accept and acknowledge those emotions, and self-regulate. My partner's job is not to be the only person to regulate and to help me feel better. And because I wanted to be that rule for everyone else, when I got out of that relationship and had these realizations of like, I kind of did a lot. I didn't really get my needs met. I didn't express my needs. I didn't even know what my needs were. And this is like years and years ago. I kind of tried to flip the other way, and I was like, okay, what are my needs and how do I get them met and whatever. And maybe that along the way got me to a place where I would hold resentment for partners that didn't fulfill my needs. But I also didn't fulfill my own needs. So it's like I had to make sure, like I had to be accountable on realizing and addressing what my own needs are, giving that to myself before I can even express the need to other people. But like, it was hard for me to balance I still want to be there for everybody else, but no one else has to be there for me because I should be able to take care of me because I'm the fixer. Like that was so hard to break for such a long time. But I think at the end of the day, now I'm at a place where I understand I am not the fixer. I am not the only person that has to do everything for everyone. I can just be a participant and be there, and that's okay. Just my existence is enough. I don't have to earn my place, and I don't have to earn affection and earn love and earn these things that I thought I had to in the past. These are just things that when I surround myself with the right people are just there. And I will contribute and I will be myself and I can be more authentic. I don't have to try to go above and beyond and try to push those limits of I just have to do everything for you because I feel like I have to, or else you won't be my friend, or you won't be my boyfriend, or you won't be my whatever. It's like, it's created this peace and calm in me where I'm like, they like me, they want to be friends with me, or they don't. They like me, they want to date me, or they don't. And before I met my current partner, this was like the main thing that I practiced while I was dating. Before we met, I was like really nonchalant about dating. I was like, I have zero eggs in this basket. I have zero. Like, I didn't want to commit. I didn't want a committed relationship. I was like not looking for anything like that. I was just looking to spend time with people, have fun, figure out what I like, who I want to date, and like what I want in a partner and all these types of things. And I was like so away from I want to be there for people. But then I met my now husband and everything changed. Like everything absolutely changed. But being with him definitely played a huge role in me actually getting to the point of being where I wanted to be. Because before I was like, I want to be like this and I want to be, emotionally regulating myself. Like I had all these thoughts and things still, but it was so hard to put it into practice. And then I was alone for a while, single for a while, not doing all that. And then I met him and it turned into something that I didn't realize it would. And it's just been like such a huge source of peace for me to be authentic and to actually act out and behave in the ways that I wanted to. I can go into that that's like a whole other thing. But realizing that my partner's emotions are not my responsibility and that they are not responsible for my emotions either is probably one of the hardest things I've had to come to terms with, but it's also the thing that has brought me the most peace and the most growth going forward. And it's something I still have to practice all the time. But I think that if I think their emotions are my responsibility and I want to continue on that trend, and then therefore I think that they should be responsible for my emotions and my well-being and everything. If that translated subconsciously even, because I don't think that, I never thought that out loud, but I would start holding resentment. And I was like, why am I holding this resentment? Like, where is this coming from? And I did my reflections. This is in previous relationships. And I'd be like, oh, I am totally expecting them to read my mind right now. I'm totally expecting them to behave in the way I do because I go above and beyond to anticipate their needs and to be there before they need me and to do all this and be everything everywhere all at once. It's a great movie. Anyway, so it's like I was subconsciously holding this resentment of wanting and feeling like I needed that same energy back to me. And I want to put like the biggest disclaimer here. Me saying that my partner's emotions are not my responsibility and vice versa does not mean that I don't care. It does not mean that I am going to be nonchalant and dismissive or anything like that about their emotions. That does not mean if they're upset, I'm just going to go, okay, well, it's your problem, like deal with it. That is not what I mean at all. And I hope that people have listened long enough for this part because that is so crucial in this. It does not mean that the compassion and empathy goes away. It just means that my whole focus isn't on that one thing. And that is just the biggest factor in everything is I was just so focused on being 100%, 150% into what I thought my role had to be as a partner and what I wanted that person's role for me to be, that it was hard for me to like separate and to have that balance. But now, totally different story. Of course, I care about my partner's emotions and of course he cares about my emotions, 100%. But they're not solely each other's responsibility. It's about being able to separate your experiences from what's happening, to be able to express them to someone who doesn't know what you're experiencing. They don't know your brain. They might get to know you and they might get to understand, but even if you've been together for decades, there's going to be certain things that you experience and you're like, I don't understand how they don't get this. There's going to be moments like that, and you have to express it to them, and you have to try to form it in a way that is understandable to the other person, to be able to create that partnership of a team mentality rather than like, I do this, you do that, separation. It's like, okay, how can we try to see things from each other's perspective, but work goes into it both ways to do that. And I think that's one of the things that was missing in a lot of my previous relationships, was that kind of continuous team effort of like seeing where things are from each other. I've been in, a few relationships, so it's all very different in every aspect. But now I'm in a place where we can take a step back, we can take a breather and be like, okay, what is your perspective on this? How are you perceiving what I am saying to you right now? How are you perceiving the situation? And have conversations rather than just straight up arguments. And that has just been like such a big change in the way I relate. So in conclusion, to sum up, my partner's emotions are not my responsibility. I do not have to be the person to do everything to fix it. I don't have to be so focused on that I lose sight of the situation. And vice versa. I do not expect my partner to take full responsibility of my emotions. I express my emotions, I express what's going on, and if it is something that they did or something that they said or whatever, then we'll talk about it. We will discuss what their intentions were and how that makes me feel and move forward that way. But it's not like I'm sitting here being like, they should know this already, or why aren't they trying so hard to know this already? Anything like that. I'm just kind of more like, I don't want to say chill, but I'm just more open to the discussion aspect of things rather than sitting here waiting and wondering why they don't already know, or why they don't already think that, or why do they think differently than me, that type of thing. In summary, emotions are not each other's responsibility. However, that does not mean you get to just not care about them. It actually takes more effort. That is the biggest key in all of this. It actually takes more effort to understand that you are not fully responsible for their emotions, and you are actually more responsible for your own. Because now your fix-it mode is actually easier, in my opinion, than trying to self-reflect, going deep down and picking up what it is that has been dropped, basically. What emotional needs am I missing right now? What hurt am I feeling right now that maybe happened years and years ago? What's coming up for me? What is the trauma? What is the unfortunate circumstances? Like, what is it? What is it that's going on in here from my own lens? And I have to comb through basically all the different file folders in the file cabinet in my brain of all my experiences to pull out, oh, this is what's going on. I experienced this one time, and that led me to believe that if someone else behaves this way, it means I'm bad, or I'm not lovable, or I'm this, that, and whatever other thing. And I have to look at it, examine it, and be like, crap, that's what happened. This isn't what's happening there. Okay, and put it back. It sounds a lot easier to put it that way, but it is so much harder to actually sit and feel your emotions and doing that at the same time. And that's another thing, is you have to feel those emotions. If you don't accept that those emotions are there, how are you going to go through and figure out where it's coming from so that we can process it and move past it and grow from it? And that was my biggest issue, was I did not let myself feel my emotions. I was in denial of my emotions for the longest time because my whole self-worth was connected to how other people felt. I had no care in the world about how I felt. I was so consumed by how other people around me were feeling and wanting them to feel good about themselves and what I could do to help with that I just, nothing. On me, I don't know. My own emotions were just not even on my radar at all. And being able to let go of that responsibility of everyone around me allowed me to put myself on the radar and actually make it the focal point, being like, okay, your emotions are really, really important. It's been neglected for a really long time. How can we help? And then now it's like a normal place. I think I spent like a good year of like just focusing on myself or trying to just focus on myself. And that was really hard as well because of my natural tendencies to put it on other people. So having to return it to myself was really hard. And in that process is like when I learned some pretty hard truths about what I wanted in life and what I didn't want at the time and things like that. And that was not easy, but ultimately the right choice for me. But yeah, that's kind of the summary, is what I said for the last 10 minutes of this 30-minute episode. Maybe I'll cut it down and be able to make it more organized. But yeah, I think it's really important to reflect on these things and to think about it. And like I always say, take everything I say with a grain of salt. Everyone's experiences are different. This is by no means a way of me saying you have to do this and this is the way you must live or must think, anything like that. This is just my experience, and I only share in hopes that someone will find something that they can connect with and feel less alone with, and maybe they can take my thought process and reflect on their own life in the way that they perceive everything, and that helps them understand them a little bit better. So if that is you and you're listening, if this helps you understand yourself a little better, then perfect. That is my goal, and yeah, that's what I do. That's what I like to do now. So yeah, thank you for hanging out with me. If you've made it this far, I appreciate you so much. And as usual, if you're listening during the day or watching during the day, I hope you have a great day. Or if you're listening at night, I hope you have a wonderful sleep, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.